Hey everyone, my name is Gohar Khan, and thank you so much for joining me for my session. Today we're going to be talking about what it takes to build a sustainable creator career. I'm going to talk about the insights, strategies, and lessons that helped me grow from 0 to 7 million followers and build a sustainable business while doing so. But to understand everything, we have to start with my story. In the spring of 2021, as my college graduation loomed near, my mother anxiously asked me about my future. "So what's the plan?" she said. After all, I had spent 4 grueling years at MIT studying computer science, economics, and data science. So, is it gonna be software engineering, consulting, grad school? I held my breath and mustered up the courage to tell her, "No, Mom, I'm going to become a YouTuber." What to her seemed like an irrational decision, at least in the moment, was a careful choice. And looking back 5 years later, I can confidently say that it is the best choice I have made in my life thus far. But it hasn't been without its drawbacks. Fair warning to everyone in the audience, I'm about to show you a very graphic image. Ouch, that right there is a punch to the gut. I vividly remember the first time I experienced this pain. Except this time my mom wanted me to open up Indeed instead of Khan Academy. However, this experience also taught me one of the biggest lessons about being a creator. Here's the irony. This video that I posted, I thought it was an absolute banger. I bought the A6600, watched endless tutorials on 3-point lighting setups, and even bought a teleprompter. But in that moment, I realized that I had fallen prey to an assumption that every creator makes at some point. More views equals more money. Money here could mean money for better equipment, money for better editing, or even money for YouTube courses. In today's session, I want to take you through my creator journey and highlight the lessons that have allowed me to turn content creation from my mother's biggest fear to my own career. But wait, sorry, I haven't even introduced myself. My name is Gohar Khan and I'm the founder of Gohar's Guide, an educational media brand showcasing the academic and life advice I wish I had growing up. For example, one day I'll teach you about the difference between debit cards and credit cards, and another day I'll explain how sugar impacts your body. 2 very different videos that somehow went viral. Today, Gohar's Guide is one of the largest self-help channels on all of social media, with over 12 million followers across platforms. But to understand my journey, we have to go all the way back to 2011, when I uploaded my first YouTube video, a Minecraft walkthrough. At this point, I am convinced that uploading a Minecraft video is a rite of passage for any big YouTuber. I'm not joking. Go to any massive YouTuber's channel, sort by oldest, and you will see a slew of Minecraft videos. So from 2011 to 2015, that's what I did. And I loved it. I firsthand experienced the joy of creating, expressing myself, growing a community, and even making some money. But let me tell you, asking your parents to give you their tax information at 13 years old so you can set up an AdSense account is not an easy conversation. And an even harder conversation is when your friends discover your videos. I remember sitting in honors chemistry when the intro for one of my videos starts blasting. I snap my neck around to find my friend staring at me with his phone in hand. I went home that night and considered deleting everything. But I couldn't. I didn't just have an audience, I had a community. Deleting my channel would be like ghosting your closest friends out of nowhere. And that is when I learned my first creator lesson. Embrace the cringe. Here, I want you to ask yourself, have you ever deleted an old video out of pure cringe? Well, hopefully that never happens again. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned professional, I encourage you to live by this mantra. Because starting on social media is inherently cringy, and even a little schizophrenic. You're sitting alone talking to a camera, pretending you have an audience when nobody's there. Kinda like what I'm doing now. But the reality is that any endeavor is cringe until it works. Whether it's a new business, hobby, or even a YouTube channel. I was driven by the idea of being a YouTuber, as are many young people today. In fact, becoming a YouTuber is the #1 career choice among 8 to 12-year-olds, ranking above teacher, musician, professional athlete, and even astronaut. And so I kept at it, despite the occasional laugh, because I never felt more passionate about anything in my life. I got to do what I love in front of people that loved me, all while making money at the same time. What kind of utopian situation was this? Now fast forward to college and I'm crumbling under the academic pressure at MIT. As much as I wanted to keep making videos, I knew that I needed to get a real job, whatever that meant. Then COVID hits. Suddenly I'm a junior back home with more free time than ever. Enough free time to visit old passions like content. Now as much as I would have loved my Minecraft career to make a comeback, I felt an urge to teach. And so my mind went to the college admissions process. Yes, I wanted to help students navigate it, but more importantly, I wanted to encourage first-generation students to enter it. Many people online talk about elite colleges as out of touch or only for the wealthy, and that's not true at all. Well, maybe it's kind of true. But these schools are often free for low-income students, and in my view, among the greatest economic mobilizers for the underprivileged. So I turned to social media to share my story and my advice. And that leads me to my second lesson. Find an internal why. You have to enter the industry excited by what it allows you to do, not by what it allows you to accomplish. Fixating on the views, money, or fame at the beginning is a surefire way to burn out early in your career, and maybe even get canceled. My why wasn't to go viral. It was to help the next kid like me believe they belong in those classrooms. I was in love with the idea of not getting a golden play button one day, although it does look kind of cool, but with the idea that I could share my story and empower other first-generation students, all while having no boss. Unless you count Neil Mohan, but he doesn't tell us what to upload. And so to anyone watching, I encourage you to find your why. Not one driven by external accolades, but an internal calling. That will be the fuel that keeps you going through the initial cringe, the 10 out of 10s, and the familial disapproval. To me, it didn't matter if I had 5 subscribers or 5 million. I was drawn to the idea of creatively expressing myself while helping other people. But it took a lot of time to reach those people. And that brings me to my third lesson. Quantity over quality before quality over quantity. Let me explain. So starting in March 2021, I uploaded short after short after short to help the students who might be in the position I was once in. I was giving out college essay tips, I was talking about college interviews, I was talking about why MIT is so much better than Harvard, and for months I was posting daily, each video just pulling a few thousand views. But I felt that if my videos could help even just one student with their academics, then I had done my job. But after months of flatlining views, on a random Tuesday in October, I received 15 million views overnight. Take a look at this graph. You'll notice a literal flat line for the first several months. This is what I call the delusional era. And then one day, and trust me, this is how it goes for most creators, the algorithm gods showered me in engagement when I least expected it. But to get to this point, I had to post well over 100 videos, skits, story times, lectures, and even a dance, which I promptly took down, but not before my fraternity group chat got their hands on it. Remember guys, embrace the cringe. This obsession over quantity, especially in the beginning, is what allowed me to then prioritize quality and scale the channel to nearly 5 billion views. Mind you, I'm not uploading videos where I'm surviving 100 days in the desert or giving away Teslas to random strangers. One of my most popular shorts was actually about how to do your taxes. That doesn't make any sense. And so that brings me to my next lesson. Storytelling is the accelerant. This goes out to any educational creators watching right now because I know how easy it is to lose yourself in the technicalities and lose your audience along the way. The secret here is to make learning fun. So fun, in fact, that it almost doesn't feel like you're learning. The question I ask myself each day is how can I take a topic like taxes, scholarships, or productivity and make it entertaining? And the answer is immersive storytelling that leaves you with no option but to continue watching. My personal style is to use a lighthearted tone, hypothetical scenarios, and colorful drawings and paper cutouts to make each of my videos as engaging as possible. And in the process, I've gone through more markers than any human should in a lifetime. But how do you tell a good story? One of my creator friends and I were actually laughing about this the other day, but all you have to do is brush off your notes from 10th grade English. Literally everything your teacher taught you, from show don't tell, to write how you speak, to simplify your language, is at the core of great storytelling. But my favorite rule didn't come from my English teacher, but rather the writers of South Park. It's known as the but therefore rule. If the beats of your story can be connected by a chain of and thens, chances are you have something that drags along. But if you can weave in the words but or therefore, chances are you have something that takes the audience on a journey. But then what should that journey be about? And that takes me to the next lesson. The niche will choose you. If you pull out your phone right now and search up social media advice, I guarantee that within the first 30 seconds, you will hear the word niche. I honestly think if 2 creators had a kid, its first word would be niche instead of mom. It is a term that is seared into our heads by gurus, creators, and even the platforms themselves. But here's the part that most people leave out. A niche is an emergent property, not a predefined one. In other words, it should be something that you discover rather than define. You should simply go into content with an overarching mission. For me, for example, that was to help students succeed inside and outside the classroom, and then over time discover the topics that resonate most. In 2020 and 2021, it was college admissions. In 2022 and 2023, it was personal finance. And in 2024 and 2025, it's been a little bit of everything. And that was by choice. In my opinion, the most successful creators today, and by successful, I don't mean by following, but rather by depth of connection, are the ones who have a hybrid niche at the intersection of two or more topics. If you're a student, that could be academics, productivity, and health. If you're a professional, that could be career growth, personal finance, and lifestyle. Or if you're a filmmaker, that could be storytelling, psychology, and technology. And so I want you to ask yourself, if you had to combine two things you love into a hybrid niche, what would they be? Humans are multifaceted, and the more dimensionality you can embed into your profile over time, the deeper that connection will be with your audience. And trust me, that connection with your audience is everything. Because here's the sixth lesson. Followers mean nothing. Sorry, the number of followers mean nothing. My followers themselves mean everything to me. But the number of followers is what I call an ego metric, or something that feels good to inflate but doesn't represent the quality of an audience. What you should instead do is pay attention to the depth of connection that you have. For example, do you have passive viewers or do you have a fandom? For example, a few years ago, headlines spread about an influencer with millions of followers whose meetup drew no one. And I share this not to judge, but to illustrate something deeper. Your true metric of success isn't how many people follow you, it's how many feel seen by you. In today's volatile media ecosystem, that genuine connection with our viewers is the only durable asset we have. But here's the problem. It is much harder to define. So here are some metrics that can help you get a sense of it. First, we have comment quality. Are viewers leaving substantive feedback? Next, we have comment length. Are they writing full sentences or just emojis? You should also pay attention to repeat commenters. For example, are the same names showing up video after video? Next, we have reference recall. For example, do your viewers quote inside jokes or callbacks from past videos? Then we have DMs and replies. For example, are viewers taking that extra step to reach out privately? And then finally, we have conversion depth. When you launch something, who actually shows up or buys in? Those last two are critical and what allow most creators to take social media from a hobby to a career. And that leads me to my final lesson. Monetize with meaning. If you ask any creator how they make their living, they'll point to one or more of these income streams. Platform payouts, brand partnerships, and their own products or services. The TikTok Creator Fund and YouTube AdSense are great supplemental sources of income, but they're unreliable. Brand deals are also a great source of income, but they're just as unpredictable. But selling products or services is how I've seen creators with 5-figure followings generate 6 or even 7-figure incomes. But how do you think of the right product or service to sell? To give you a little bit of inspiration, I'd love to share my story. So through 2022 and 2023, the Gohar's Guide brand continued to grow. And people started asking me, Gohar, do you offer one-on-one help? Could you help me apply to college? Could you review my college essay? And so I stood at a crossroads, realizing that social media gave me the chance to do something very unique in the admission space. If you've ever tried looking up the prices of college counseling services, you might have trouble breathing. On the low end, you have firms charging $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 for a counseling package, and then on the high end, you have firms charging $50,000, $80,000, or even $100,000. That honestly feels illegal. Now sure, I could have followed suit. I could have coached students individually, charged thousands of dollars, and gone about my day. But what about the thousands of students who can't afford that? Or what about the ones who aren't getting the help they need from their very own schools? For reference, the average student to counselor ratio in US public schools is 472 to 1, and the average student receives only 38 minutes of counseling support over their 4 years in high school. I realized that my following not only gave me the chance to tackle this issue, but to flip the traditional model on its head. The admission space has always been low volume, high price. But because of my audience, I had the flexibility to compete on price, to start an admissions firm that's high volume, low price. And so, to my mother's delight, I dusted off my CS degree and came together with my brother to found NextAdmate, a technology-driven admissions firm that aims to make counseling services as affordable as possible. Since 2021, NextAdmate has grown to a team of nearly 100 consultants, worked with thousands of students and families, and reviewed nearly 20,000 college essays. Our dream is to build out a suite of services to help every family find clarity and peace during the admissions process, all while sharing free and comprehensive admissions advice online. So looking back over these past couple of years, I feel nothing but gratitude. Gratitude for the ways in which social media has changed my life and allowed me to change those of others. My mom, she was nervous when I decided to embark on this journey. I was nervous when I decided to embark on this journey. But I look back to 11-year-old me, who dreamed of becoming a YouTuber one day. I look back to 13-year-old me, who made his first $100 from AdSense and found a love for entrepreneurship. And I look back to 17-year-old me, who so desperately wished for help during one of the most important stages of his life. So yes, I may not be a software engineer, I may not be a consultant, and I will never be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. But thanks to social media, I get to be even something better for a living. Myself. And Mom, it turns out that's a real job after all.